how did we get from the point of looking at scientific numbers like that to getting to the point where people are just angry on both sides of this? Why is there no room for kind of an intellectual conversation about what's happening, especially when you look at the numbers of who's dying right now, who's winding up in the hospital?
It's a really important question, Becky, and it would be worth a whole 2 hours of Squawk Box. You know, The Lancet recently came out with a fascinating study. Which country in the world did best during the pandemic? It was Vietnam. Vietnam, they have 100 million people, not a particularly strong public health system. But what the study found was that they had a really high level of trust in each other and trust in the government. You know, one of my teachers and friends, Dov Seidman, likes to say trust is the only legal performance-enhancing drug. Trust is the only legal performance-enhancing drug. And if there's one thing that's happened to America over the last 20 years is a general erosion in trust, people in the government and people in each other. Some of it's because government's gotten a lot of things wrong and experts have gotten things wrong and they deserve to be challenged. A lot of it, I think, also is social networks. We are now in the middle of an infodemic, not just a pandemic, driven on by Twitter and Facebook and all these other social networks whose business model is to enrage and divide people. And it has real health consequences. It has real societal consequences.
Tom, it's Brian. Listen, I completely agree on that point. I've been very active in posting actual COVID data, not, and letting people decide for themselves on social media. I do agree on those points. Vietnam, obviously warm countries, maybe have an advantage. We know vitamin D, according to CDC and everybody, has an advantage. The U.S.'s numbers are not any worse than Belgium or the Netherlands or Spain. This is truly a global pandemic. But going back to your previous point about Canada, and we can agree to disagree on this, it's 2 years in. Don't these people have some human right to say enough is enough? I mean, they're clearly not going to get vaccinated. And by the way, and we don't know if they're all non-vaccinated, by the way, Tom, the vaccination rates are about the same here as they are in many other Western European countries. I mean, there's just going to be a quarter of populations that don't want to do it. I don't think this is a U.S. issue.
I was not claiming it was a U.S. issue. They absolutely have their rights. Absolutely. I don't dispute that for a second. They also have responsibilities. Also, we're in an epidemic in America, and obviously in Canada as well, where everyone has rights and nobody has responsibilities. They have that right. But what is their responsibility to their family, their neighbors, and to the health workers?
You tell me. I mean, we can argue about what their responsibility is, but
I'm telling you what their responsibility is.
Well, I'll tell you this, Tom.
Yeah.
I'm fully vaccinated, boosted. My family is fully vaccinated and boosted. Everybody in my family got COVID over New Year's. Some in my family have had COVID more than once. I'm just going to say that.
Did any of them die?
Because it's a great.
Did any of them end up in the hospital?
Well, so no, but right now, 52% of people in Massachusetts in the hospital with COVID are fully vaccinated. That's publicly available data. It's a great therapeutic, by the way. It is a great therapeutic, and I'm glad I got vaccinated because my symptoms were low. What I'm saying is these are people who are seeing this spread of Omicron and saying, well, all these vaccinated people got it. Now, you're right. It reduces severity. That's the key.
That's the key.
Where is that government line drawn, though, Tom, between when the government says you have to do something and human choice?
Well, again, they all have their right to do this. I'm simply saying when you don't do it, you massively increase the prospect you're going to end up in a hospital. You massively increase the prospect, if you're in the wrong category, that you're going to die. And in doing both, the latest study shows about 2/3 of nurses today are thinking of getting out of the profession.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.